Hi, and welcome to Lesson 3 of Chapter 10, the Algebra of Quadratics. So this lesson we're going to be solving and simplifying square roots. And when we solve and simplify square roots, it's going to be a little bit different than you might be used to because we're going to be introduced to maybe a new topic that you haven't seen before. And that's the idea that every square root has two answers, a positive answer and a negative answer. So if we look at that opening paragraph, it says completing the square is not only a method used to find the vertex of a parabola, but it is also a useful method to find the zeros of a parabola as well. But before we can find the zeros by completing the square, it's important to understand how square roots could be used as inverse operations. So in exercise number 1, we want to solve for both values of x by using a square root as an inverse operation. So to undo squaring a number, you should already know that you take the square root of both sides. But what you may not know is that it says solve for both values of x. So what we're going to do is we're going to solve this x squared equals 25 by taking the square root of both sides. So the square root of that x is going to undo the square. So I'm going to be left with x is equal to, now a square root is a number times itself that equals 25. So what number times itself equals 25? So if you thought of 5, you're correct, but you're only half correct because 5 times 5 does equal 25. So I'm going to write 5 there. But if you only thought of 5, then there's still another answer. And that's because what if I said negative 5 is the square root of 25? Is it true that negative 5 times negative 5 is also positive 25? And the answer is yes. So because negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25, and 5 times 5 is 25, we have two roots of this equation. So the way we represent both of them is writing a plus minus sign. It's a plus sign on top of a minus sign, and that just means that it could be positive or negative 5, plus or minus 5. All right, so knowing that one, we could go ahead to part B now, where we have x squared equals 64. Now again, we're going to take the square root of both sides because that's how we undo the x squared, undo the square. And we're going to be left with x is equal to, and now the square root of 64 works the same way. What number times what number will give you 64? So that one you might recognize as, 8 times 8 is 64. But again, negative 8 times negative 8 is also 64. So our answer there is going to be plus or minus 8. That would be both of the solutions. And finally, on part C, we have x squared equals 121. So we're going to take the square root of both sides to isolate the x all by itself. And we could go right into it now, where we know that there's going to be two roots of this number. This is a perfect square, because what times what is 121? On the count of 3, we'll say it. 1, 2, 3, 11. Yes, okay. So we're going to have plus or minus 11 as our answer. Okay? If you need to go back and watch that again to see how we got each of those answers, that's fine. I'll wait.